there, welcome back, and continuing to talk about friendships and family and relationships. Let's talk today about welcoming your expanding family and making a good impression on your grand's significant other. Now, we all know that in the teen years and early 20s and into the 30s, young people are starting to pair off. They're finding people in their lives that are significant. They may be marrying or having long-term relationships. How do we fit into that? How do we make a good impression? How do we accept the love interests of our grandchildren? And first of all, I want to say this, and this applies all across the board. You have a choice to make. First of all, choose to delight in your expanding family. You know, sometimes people think the more friends there are, the more family there is, the less love there is to go around. No way. There is more love, and that love grows over time if we allow it, if we don't get selfish and possessive and think that we have to have all the attention. We can really rejoice and bask in watching our family grow and watching the new relationships and how they develop. It's a great process if we let it be a great process. So, when your grands are hitting those ages and they're starting to bring people home, how do you begin to interact, and how do you not be the quirky, weird grandma or grandpa that nobody wants to talk to? First of all, you got to be a little social and friendly. Start there. So as you meet these new people, ask questions. Be interested. Don't immediately be on the offensive like this person is intruding and is unimportant and is bad for your grand. You don't know that yet necessarily, and I fully am aware that sometimes relationships are bad. So I don't want to make light of that, but allow for the opportunity that this is a good relationship and a good person for your grand to be interacting with. So get to know their significant other. Ask them questions, be social, have meals with them, include them in family activities so you can kind of watch them in relaxed circumstances and get to know who they are as a person. Do that without judgment. Allow it to unfold and see what develops. Here's one. Take a moment and convince yourself, I'm going to say that again, convince yourself that the world doesn't have to be exactly as you think it should. Okay, and I know that's tough. We all have our ideas about how things should look, including who's going to be the right person for our grandchild for their long-term happiness. And I'm really bad about this, trust me. I have a matchmaker bone in my body that just is always itching to be scratched. I love the idea of love, and I want to see people happy together. And I confess I'm already praying for the spouses of our grandchildren because I want them to have happy relationships in the future. But that may look different than what I have imagined in my mind, and I have to be willing to accept that. I have to convince myself that it doesn't always have to look exactly like I anticipate. Okay? Had to do that with my own kids, and I'll have to do it with my grands, and I'm advising you to do the same. Be open. And then as you get to know these people, look for the good in them. Look for the creative or the interesting things that you can compliment them on. Have you ever noticed how people begin to blossom when they're complimented? If you tell that nervous young man or nervous young woman who's coming into this big family setting, if you can say something nice to them, it starts to put them at ease and you begin to see who that real person is. So as you're being open to who they might be, also make them feel comfortable and willing to be their true selves in front of you. That is going to make a good impression, because they'll go away saying, wow, your grandma or grandpa, they're really cool and they're really nice. They talk to me. Sometimes families don't talk to newcomers. It doesn't help folks. It doesn't build good relationships. And put away the preconceived notions. And I know we've talked about this before, but particularly, again, in the time that we're living, we have to set aside some of our thoughts about things that weren't as common when we were younger. And so here's 3 that right off the bat: tattoos, hairstyles, and clothing styles. They are so much different than when I was younger. And while some of those things may not be my cup of tea, I don't have a single tattoo. I really confess that I don't care for lots of tattoos all over people. But when I asked a young person a question one time, they told me something that has caused me to be a little more open and accepting of what people choose to do with their own bodies. And that was, he told me his clothing style he viewed as art. And I had never, ever perceived people's clothing styles to be an art form. But if you look at clothing, tattoos, hairstyles, it does have artistic bents. You begin to see their nature being reflected in how they choose to appear in public. And so pause a minute, set aside the preconceived notions and the judgment and whether you like it or dislike it, and maybe look for the art or what is being expressed in those things that young person might be doing. I have, particularly with tattoos, begun to find times where it's like, oh, well, that one's kind of pretty. I like that. I, of course, have some that, no way. And that's okay. It's their expression, not mine. And I have to be willing to say that. So just as you're trying to make a good impression on the significant other of your grandchild, don't let those small things intrude and defeat a relationship before it even has a chance to get started. So remember what I said last week, and that was that good relationships, healthy relationships, take a lot of work. They don't happen by accident. That's pertinent here too. If you want a good relationship with your grandchild's significant other, work at it and make it happen. Make the choices and have the conversations. Be the friendly person that allows a healthy, happy relationship to form. Be grand.